I think the key thing that a lot of people will have seen through COVID is some industries really thriving and others are really struggling, and helping people to question what the most resilient industries are, things that they always took for granted.
It's become more acceptable and more understandable around how people become more entrepreneurial. You could see it through COVID going on in your own high street. You could see businesses in your own high street through COVID by addressing the challenges that COVID faced, pivoting their businesses, working out how they were going to reach their customers, how they were going to deliver their products and services in ways that were really unusual, that were safe in a COVID environment, but that were really, really different. And also we saw tons of small businesses in the UK really thinking about how they could spend some of that time during COVID to build themselves digital communities and how they could use those digital communities in the future to scale their businesses.
So the effects of COVID on the business landscape really have been quite dramatic, and there have been many effects, but one very clear effect is that this disruption of global supply chains really got people thinking and reorient towards local. So kind of engaging with local community, thinking about local supply chains and building up, be it manufacturing or procurement in the UK, for instance. And clearly that dovetails nicely with this focus on climate change, reducing carbon emissions, but it also opened up kind of an experimentation, pivoting to new business models that weren't just locally oriented, but also more sustainable, more embedded in communities.
One of the really interesting things that's changed post-COVID is that climate change has moved from becoming something that's a nice to have to something that's a must have. And that's because of things like COP26 that happened during that COVID period, but it's also because of people's changing attitudes. And as finance professionals, it's really important for us to think about how climate change can be incorporated into our objectives to deliver what it is our stakeholders want, but more than that, to work out how we're going to deliver competitive advantage by addressing and thinking about climate change.
So we already have a trend to report on the gender pay gap, for instance, but I think carbon accounting and climate change accounting is really going to be the way forward.
I think it's been a really interesting shift in the dynamics around working, especially as a business owner with employees, and what's happened as we've seen everybody work from home and adapt to online working. I think there was a real divide before about the belief in flexibility versus needing to have people in a physical office from 9 to 5 and what that would mean for productivity. But it's been proven that we can work from home. And now employees expect that as a benefit and have reevaluated what is important to them about their work-life balance.
So we see this new recognition that actually self-care is not selfish, but that by looking after your own well-being and making time for that, you actually become a more productive entrepreneur and your company is more likely to succeed in the long run, because we see really intriguing links of happiness, if you want for a better word, with creativity, productivity and resilience.
COVID has completely changed the way people want to work, and as finance professionals I believe it's our job to really think about our people resources, our people as our assets, and how we're going to help them to work in the way that they want to work, but in a way that really works for our organisations. And that to me is about setting really strong objectives for people, really clear, smart objectives for the people who work in your organisation, and supporting them and helping them to deliver those objectives, but without telling them what to do. If you delegate tasks to people, you'll get back some tasks done. But if you delegate authority to people, authority to deliver objectives in the way that they want to deliver them, you will get fantastic results.
Because now we are able to work more remotely, this offers a real opportunity to entrepreneurs to access global talent. Because if everybody can work from a laptop from anywhere in the world, you now are not limited to the people looking for jobs in your local city. You can get the best candidate from anywhere in the world if you're able to work remotely and really adopt those tools and work practices.
We've all been through such a challenging time, and it's so easy in a time of crisis to and really change your risk profiling, and that's something that's really important and sacred to finance professionals. It's really easy, I think, in times of crisis to become much more risk averse. And yet it's in times of recovery that we need to really address our attitude to risk and perhaps in a really managed fashion be out there taking more risks.